When you look at the present value of the cash flows that Twitter is able to generate, even in a very optimistic scenario, you get a number that is about half of what Mr. Musk is offering. And so we've always maintained that this is a fantastic deal for shareholders. And I think what you've seen is the majority or some of the large shareholders have agreed with that view. And that's why the pressure's been put on Twitter's board over the weekend.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that Jack Dorsey came out with an endorsement, frankly. And he's always said that the board has been a problem for the company since they went public. And one of the big questions, of course, is how many changes and how quickly we'll see changes at Twitter at this point. Because Elon Musk is a disruptor.
Yes, he is. Now, if you look back to why this deal is quite so contentious, there is a political disagreement on what the definition of free speech is, with Twitter's board on one side and Mr. Musk on the other. So I think what you're going to see is that now Mr. Musk takes over the company. I suspect you will see sweeping management change, probably both in the board and at the senior levels of management, in order to ensure that it's his definition of free speech is the one that Twitter now goes with.
You got it, Richard. And I think it's fascinating because irrespective of who runs the company, so long as Elon Musk has a presence on the platform, he is going to have a godlike status there when it comes to issues of free speech and when it comes to issues of content moderation. What type of changes do you expect him to institute on those issues here? And is he going to take a hands-off approach, or is he going to be hands-on when it comes to managing some of these more touchy, more controversial issues, like who belongs on the platform and what they're allowed to say?
I think the most important change he's going to make is the content moderation algorithms, and the policies that Twitter has in terms of what is censored, what is allowed on the platform, and what is not. Because if you look at the way it is at the moment, it's very opaque, and it's not clear exactly what falls across the line and what does not. And I think, and this is part of what he's saying about open sourcing the algorithm, I think his intention is to make that much, much clearer so that the line, you can see that exactly where the line is and how not to fall foul of it.
Yeah, and at this point, we still don't know where that line is, and it'll be so interesting to see how Elon manages this. But Richard, to another issue, what do you think this means for Tesla investors? Suddenly, Elon Musk has a lot more on his plate, right?
Yes, it does. But I mean, I think if you look at Tesla's most recent results, the company is performing well. And so I think from that perspective, from a management hands-on perspective, I'm not convinced that Tesla's shareholders will have any particular great difficulty. The one area where risk has been raised is that 12.5 billion of the money that Elon has raised is coming from a margin loan on $62.5 billion of Tesla shares. Now, if Tesla really crashes in terms of its value, it is possible there could be a margin call, which would cause more selling into a weak market. And so there is more downside risk on Tesla's shares because of that. But I suspect Tesla would have to fall probably as much as 80% before that would be triggered, which I think is very unlikely.
Richard, just before we let you go, I mean, walk us through the politics of this one. This is a guy that has, as I said, been a disruptor on so many levels. Now there is, as you say, a disagreement about what exactly qualifies as freedom of speech. It's something, obviously, that we in the media actually look at quite seriously all the time. When you think about this a bit more broadly and the politics of this, do you believe that he's going to really push those on the left, whether they be in Congress or even in the White House, to the brink, if you will? Do you see that there are going to be more personal attacks on Mr. Musk, that there's going to be more scrutiny by the SEC on his activities?
I think certainly quite possibly. Mr. Musk has plenty of critics. They do seem to come more from the left side of the aisle than the right side of the aisle. So I think you could certainly see that increase. But I think the upside of it is that if Twitter's content moderation policies become clear, more open, easier to understand, with any luck, that might spread to the other social media platforms. And what this would do is it would help avoid or end this constant conflict that is going on between the two political wings at the moment.